Diplomat Eli Vaughn gazed out the observation deck of Terra Voyager, humanity's most advanced diplomatic starship, as it approached the capital planet of the Galactic Empire, Zerathis Prime. The view was breathtaking. Endless cityscapes sprawled across the planet's surface, illuminated by twin suns and crisscrossed by shimmering streams of aerial traffic. Humanity's first official meeting with the Empire was poised to shape the future of interstellar politics. Eli adjusted her ceremonial blue jacket, the golden insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps gleaming on her chest. Beside her stood Commander Rylan Cortez, a grizzled military veteran assigned as her security liaison. His face bore a skeptical frown as he observed the alien planet. "You don't trust them, do you?" Eli asked, smirking slightly. "I trust them about as far as I can throw one of their three-headed diplomats," Rylan muttered. His hand rested on the holster of his plasma pistol, despite strict orders to keep all weapons holstered unless under direct threat. "Something about this whole arrangement feels off." "Diplomacy is about trust, Commander," Eli countered. "This is a historic moment. Humanity can't afford to appear paranoid." Rylan grunted. "I'll stick to being paranoid if it keeps us alive." The diplomatic delegation disembarked onto a grand platform constructed of crystalline metal that glowed faintly beneath their feet. Imperial guards, clad in dark, insectoid armor, flanked the walkway. Their sleek rifles gleamed under the artificial lights, subtly reminding the humans of their precarious position. At the far end of the platform stood the Imperial delegation. In the center was Chancellor Itheris Zelkar, a tall, imposing figure with lavender skin and 6 iridescent eyes that shimmered in unison. His ceremonial robes flowed like liquid silver, and his expression was inscrutable. "Welcome, humans, to the heart of the Galactic Empire," Itheris said, his voice melodic yet unsettling. "It is my hope that today will mark the beginning of a prosperous alliance between our species." Eli stepped forward, offering a practiced smile. "Chancellor Itheris, on behalf of humanity, I extend our gratitude for this opportunity to forge peace and understanding." As the formalities commenced, Itheris led the humans into the Grand Hall of Accord, a magnificent chamber filled with towering holographic projections of galactic maps and ancient imperial texts. The meeting seemed to proceed smoothly, though Rylan's sharp gaze caught subtle glances exchanged between the alien guards. Something wasn't right. Midway through the negotiations, disaster struck. A sudden, ear-splitting alarm echoed through the chamber. Imperial guards rushed in, shouting in their guttural language. Before the humans could react, Itheris's demeanor shifted. His 6 eyes narrowed, and his melodic voice turned icy. "This is an outrage. A human spy has infiltrated the Empire and attempted to sabotage our neural network." Eli froze. "What? That's impossible. We came here in peace." A hologram projected into the chamber, showing grainy footage of a figure clad in human armor planting an explosive device near a critical infrastructure hub. Eli recognized it instantly. It was a frame job. "This footage is fabricated," she protested. "Humanity would never." Itheris raised a hand, silencing her. "The evidence is clear. As a representative of your species, you bear responsibility for this treachery." Rylan's hand darted to his pistol, but Eli stopped him with a glance. "Chancellor, we can resolve this diplomatically. Please, allow us to." Her words were cut short as one of the guards stepped forward, drawing a blade that shimmered with lethal energy. In a swift, brutal motion, he drove it into her chest. Eli collapsed, blood pooling beneath her. Shock rippled through the human delegation as Itheris declared, "This is the price of betrayal." As Rylan caught Eli's falling body, rage and despair surged through him. Her lifeless eyes stared back at him, a silent plea for justice. The Empire had crossed an irreversible line. Moments later, Rylan activated his communicator. His voice was cold, his words clicked. "This is Commander Cortez. Diplomat Vaughn has been executed by the Empire. Code Red. Humanity is now at war." The scene aboard Earth's military command center was chaos as the transmission played. Admiral Leona Hawthorne, a battle-hardened leader, slammed her fist on the console. "Enough. Deploy the fleet." If the Empire wants a war, we'll give them one. Across the solar system, humanity's war machine roared to life. Factories churned out battle cruisers, soldiers armed themselves, and Earth's collective resolve solidified. This was no longer about diplomacy, it was about survival. As the first wave of starships departed for Imperial space, the question on everyone's mind wasn't whether humanity could win, but how far they were willing to go for vengeance. The Terran fleet surged into Imperial space like a tidal wave of vengeance, their sleek warships gleaming under the pale light of alien suns. The flagship Iron Resolve spearheaded the assault, a colossal vessel bristling with railguns, plasma cannons, and state-of-the-art shielding technology. On its bridge, Commander Rylan Cortez stood like a sentinel, his face carved with grim determination. "Status report," he barked, his voice cutting through the tension. "Fleet is in position, Commander," replied Lieutenant Vance, the ship's tactical officer. "Scouts report no significant Imperial forces in the vicinity of Vextara, their nearest colony world." Rylan's gaze burned into the holographic map before him. Vextara was an agricultural hub, lightly defended but vital to the Empire's supply chain. Striking it would send a message: humanity wasn't here to play by the Empire's rules anymore. "Begin the assault," Rylan ordered. No mercy. The first salvo of orbital bombardments rained down on Vextara. Imperial outposts crumbled under the relentless barrage, their defenses woefully unprepared for humanity's sudden ferocity. Rylan watched the destruction unfold with a grim satisfaction. But the battle was far from over. In a shadowed chamber aboard the Imperial dreadnought Oblivion's Grasp, Chancellor Ithris Zelkar stood in conference with his war council. His 6 eyes glimmered with restrained fury as he examined the reports from Vextara. "The humans have overstepped their bounds," he hissed. "Their rage blinds them to the folly of challenging the Empire." General Korvek, a hulking figure with armor plated in iridescent scales, stepped forward. "Allow me to crush their fleet, Chancellor. I will remind these primitives of their place." Ithris raised a hand. "Not yet. Let them taste victory on Vextara. Their arrogance will lead them into the jaws of our trap." The room fell silent as Ithris activated a star map, highlighting a nebula known as the Phalanx Veil. "Position the bulk of our fleet here. The humans will pursue, eager for more blood. When they arrive, we will annihilate them." Korvek saluted, his jagged teeth bared in anticipation. "As you command." On Vextara's surface, the battle intensified as Terran Marines stormed key installations. Cities burned, and civilians fled in terror. Captain Elena Drake led her unit through the ruins of a once thriving market district, her pulse rifle steady as she scanned for hostiles. "Eye sharp," she murmured to her squad. "The Empire's too quiet for my liking." Her instincts proved correct. A squad of Imperial shock troopers, their insectoid armor glinting in the smoke-filled sunlight, ambushed the Marines from the shadows. Plasma bolts lit up the air, and screams echoed through the streets. Drake dug behind cover, her heart pounding. "Return fire! Pin them down!" Her team fought valiantly, their weapons blazing. But the shock troopers were relentless, their superior technology pushing the Marines to the brink. Then came the turning point. In orbit, Rylan received a desperate transmission from Drake's unit. He clenched his fists as the images of carnage played out on the screen. Without hesitation, he ordered a precision strike on the enemy position, knowing full well the risk of collateral damage. "Target locked," Lieutenant Vance confirmed. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The kinetic projectile slammed into the battlefield with devastating force, obliterating the shock troopers and sending a shockwave rippling through the city. Rylan's stomach churned as he imagined the civilians caught in the blast. But he shoved the guilt aside. This is war. On the ground, Drake and her remaining soldiers staggered to their feet, battered but alive. She glanced up at the sky, where the Iron Resolve loomed like a vengeful god. "Commander Cortez," she muttered under her breath. "You just saved our hides. Let's hope it was worth it." Humanity's success on Vextara sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time, a species had openly defied the Empire and lived to tell the tale. But Rylan knew this was only the beginning. Back aboard the Iron Resolve, the mood was tense. Reports of Imperial reinforcements began flooding in, and intercepted transmissions hinted at a larger fleet amassing in the Phalanx Veil. It was the perfect place for an ambush, an opaque nebula that scrambled long-range sensors and forced combat into close quarters. "We have to press our advantage," Admiral Leona Hawthorne declared during a strategy meeting. Her holographic image flickered on the bridge. "If we hesitate now, the Empire will regroup and overwhelm us. And if we walk into a trap?" Rylan countered. "We can't afford to lose the fleet." Leona's gaze hardened. "This is war, Commander. We've already crossed the Rubicon. If we falter, Eliandra Vahn's sacrifice will be for nothing." Rylan's jaw tightened. The memory of Eli's lifeless body haunted him, fueling his resolve. "Understood, Admiral. We'll move on the Veil." As the Terran fleet approached the Phalanx Veil, unease rippled through the ranks. The nebula's swirling gases obscured their view, and the faint echoes of Imperial transmissions hinted at a massive force lying in wait. "Something about this doesn't feel right," Lieutenant Vance muttered. "Noted," Rylan replied curtly. "But we have our orders." The fleet plunged into the nebula, their sensors flickering erratically. The oppressive silence was broken only by the hum of engines and the occasional burst of static. Every soldier and officer braced for the inevitable clash. And then, like predators springing from the shadows, the Empire struck. Imperial warships emerged from the swirling mists, their energy weapons blazing. The Terran fleet reeled under the onslaught, their shields struggling to hold. Rylan barked orders, coordinating a desperate defense. "Focus fire on their flagships," he roared. "Don't let them box us in." The battle descended into chaos. Ships collided in fiery explosions, and soldiers fought tooth and nail in boarding actions. Rylan found himself thrust into the heart of the conflict, leading a counterattack against an Imperial boarding party that had breached the Iron Resolve. Blaster fire illuminated the dim corridors as Rylan and his team clashed with the invaders. He moved with lethal precision, his training and fury driving him forward. But for every enemy they felled, more seemed to take their place. In the midst of the chaos, an urgent transmission crackled through Rylan's communicator. It was Admiral Hawthorne, her voice grim. "Commander, we've detected a massive energy buildup in the heart of the nebula. The Empire's deploying some kind of superweapon. We need to neutralize it, or we're finished." Rylan's mind raced. The stakes had never been higher, and the odds were stacked against them. But as he rallied his forces for the next phase of the battle, one thing was clear: humanity's survival depended on their ability to adapt, outthink, and outfight an enemy far superior in strength. The storm was only just beginning. The nebula was a swirling cauldron of chaos. Ships darted through clouds of superheated gas, their weapons lighting up the void. Explosions sent fiery debris spiraling through the battlefield as the Terran fleet fought to hold its ground. On board the Iron Resolve, Commander Rylan Cortez was in the thick of it, issuing orders with relentless precision. "Status on that energy signature?" Rylan demanded, his voice cutting through the cacophony. Lieutenant Vance's hands flew over his console. "It's coming from an Imperial dreadnought, sir, Oblivion's Grasp. Their flagship. Whatever they are charging, it's massive." Rylan's jaw tightened. Oblivion's Grasp. The name alone sent a chill down his spine. "What's our ETA to weapon readiness?" 2 minutes, Vance replied. "But I'm not sure we'll last that long." Rylan glanced at the tactical display. The fleet was outnumbered 2-1, and the Empire's ships were pressing their advantage. The Terran vessels fought valiantly, but the strain was showing: damaged hulls, failing shields, and dwindling ammunition reserves. 2 minutes, Rylan muttered to himself. "We'll make it." On the bridge of the Oblivion's Grasp, Chancellor Ithris Selkar watched the battle unfold with cold satisfaction. The humans were fighting fiercely, but their desperation betrayed their inferiority. Ithris's 6 iridescent eyes flicked to General Korvek, who stood nearby, his armor gleaming with dark energy. "Is the weapon ready?" Ithris asked, his melodic voice laced with malice. "Nearly," Korvek replied. The humans will not survive the Crucible beam. The Crucible beam, a planet-cracking superweapon, had been designed to annihilate entire fleets in a single strike. It was a testament to the Empire's technological dominance, and Icarus intended to use it to crush humanity's rebellion once and for all. Good, Icarus said. Let them witness the futility of their defiance. Meanwhile, aboard the Iron Resolve, Rylan was formulating a desperate plan. We need to take out that dreadnought before the beam fires, he declared. Focus all firepower on the Oblivion's grasp. Admiral Leona Hawthorne's voice crackled through the comms. Rylan, our fleet can't penetrate their shielding in time. We need another approach. Rylan's mind raced. An idea formed, a dangerous, borderline suicidal plan. If we can't destroy the shield from the outside, we'll destroy it from within. You're talking about boarding the flagship, Leona said, her tone sharp. That's a death sentence. It's our only shot, Rylan replied. If I can disable the shield generator, our fleet can finish the job. Leona hesitated, then nodded grimly. Do it. Take a strike team and make it count. Rylan assembled a handpicked team of Marines, including Captain Alina Drake, who had barely survived the battle on Vextara. She checked her pulse rifle and smirked. Commander, I hope you've got a solid plan, because this feels like the end of the line. Stick with me, Drake, and you might live to see another day, Rylan replied, his tone dry. Their assault shuttle launched from the Iron Resolve, weaving through the chaos of the battlefield. Imperial fighters closed in, their weapons blazing, but the shuttle's pilot, a daredevil named Lieutenant Harris, performed maneuvers that bordered on insanity. Hold on to your helmets! Harris shouted as the shuttle spiraled through a debris field, narrowly avoiding destruction. We're going in hot! The shuttle slammed into the docking bay of the Oblivion's grasp, its landing gear sparking against the deck. The Marines poured out, weapons blazing, as Imperial guards rushed to intercept them. The air filled with the crackle of plasma fire and the screams of the dying. The team pushed deeper into the dreadnought, navigating its labyrinthine corridors. Rylan led the charge, his instincts honed by years of combat. But the resistance was fierce, and every step forward was paid for in blood. We're getting close to the shield generator, Drake called out, checking her scanner. But the Imperials aren't making it easy. They never do, Rylan muttered. Keep moving. As they turned a corner, they were met with a wall of Imperial soldiers, their rifles aimed and ready. The firefight that erupted was brutal. Rylan's team used every trick in the book, grenades, improvised cover, and sheer grit, to push through. But the cost was high. By the time they reached the generator room, only a handful of Marines remained. This is it, Rylan said, his voice resolute. We take out that generator, or we die trying. Inside the generator room, the air hummed with energy. The massive device pulsed with a blinding light, protected by layers of armor and automated turrets. Rylan barked orders, directing his team to take out the defenses while he planted explosives on the generator. Drake covered him, her rifle spitting fire as waves of Imperial reinforcements poured in. Commander, we're running out of time. I'm almost there. Rylan shouted, his fingers working furiously to arm the charges. The room shook as the Oblivion's grasp fired another salvo at the Terran fleet, the dreadnought's power surging. The shield generator was the linchpin of their defense, and the Imperials knew it. Rylan's team was fighting against the clock and impossible odds. Finally, the charges were set. Rylan activated his comms. This is Cortez. The explosives are armed. We're blowing the shield in 60 seconds. Get ready to fire. Drake pulled him back as more Imperial soldiers stormed the room. We've got to move, Commander. This place is about to blow. The Marines fought their way out, every second a grueling test of endurance and courage. As they reached the docking bay, the charges detonated, sending a shockwave through the dreadnought. The shield generator erupted in a cascade of energy, and the Oblivion's grasp shuddered violently. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Vance shouted, "The enemy shields are down. We've got a clear shot." Rylan's voice came through the comms, strained but triumphant. "Take it. Finish this. Admiral Hawthorne didn't hesitate. All ships, target the Oblivion's grasp. Fire at will. The Terran fleet unleashed its fury. Railgun slugs and plasma lances tore through the dreadnought's hull, igniting its ammunition stores and reactors. The Oblivion's grasp was consumed in a fiery explosion, its remains scattered across the battlefield. Rylan's shuttle docked with the Iron Resolve, and the surviving Marines staggered out, bloodied but alive. The bridge crew erupted in cheers as Rylan entered, but his expression was grim. "This isn't over," he said. "The Empire's going to come back at us harder than ever." Admiral Hawthorne nodded. "And we'll be ready." As the Terran fleet regrouped, the battlefield was a graveyard of shattered ships and lost lives. Humanity had struck a decisive blow, but the war was far from won. In the heart of the nebula, the Terran forces steeled themselves for the battles yet to come, their resolve unshaken. The inferno of war burned brighter than ever, and humanity's fight for survival had only just begun. The destruction of the Oblivion's grasp marked a turning point in the war. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy, emboldening smaller factions oppressed by the Empire. Yet, Rylan Cortez knew this was no time for celebration. The Empire's retaliation was imminent, and its vengeance would be merciless. On board the Iron Resolve, the bridge was a hive of activity. Engineers worked frantically to repair damage sustained during the battle in the Phalanx Vale. Admiral Leona Hawthorne's holographic image flickered to life in the middle of the command deck, her expression grim. "Cortez, intelligence suggests the Empire is massing its fleet at Zaratha Prime, their central military hub," she said. "They are preparing a final offensive to crush us. We need to hit them first." Rylan's brow furrowed. "You're proposing we launch an assault on their home turf? That's suicide." "It's our only chance," Leona replied. "If we don't take out their leadership and fleet in one decisive strike, this war will drag on until we're ground into dust." Rylan let out a heavy sigh. "Then we'll need every advantage we can get." In the weeks leading up to the assault, humanity's scattered forces were united under a single banner. Allied factions, disparate alien species oppressed by the Empire, rallied to the Terran cause. Ragtag fleets of ships joined the Terran Armada, their captains driven by vengeance and the hope of a free galaxy. On the surface of Vextara, Captain Alina Drake oversaw the training of newly recruited soldiers. Among them were both humans and aliens, their differences set aside in pursuit of a common goal. "You think we stand a chance against the Empire's full might?" one recruit asked nervously. Drake smirked, her confidence unwavering. "If we didn't, do you think I'd still be here? Stick with me, and you'll live to see the Empire burn." Her words inspired grim determination among the troops. They trained day and night, preparing for the inevitable. The day of the assault arrived. The combined fleet, a patchwork of Terran and Allied vessels, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Zaratha Prime. The sight of the Empire's stronghold was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a planet-sized fortress bristling with weapons and surrounded by an armada of warships. Rylan stood on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, staring at the tactical display. His crew was silent, the weight of the moment palpable. "Give the order, Commander," Vance said quietly. Rylan took a deep breath. "All ships, advance. Engage at will. Let's show the Empire what humanity is made of." The battle erupted with unparalleled ferocity. The Empire's ships, sleek and deadly, swarmed the Allied fleet. The Terran forces countered with sheer tenacity, their weapons tearing through enemy lines. Fighters zipped between capital ships, engaging in dogfights that lit up the void. On board the Iron Resolve, Rylan coordinated the assault with precision. "Target their command ships. We take out their leadership, and their fleet will crumble." The Iron Resolve fired its main railgun, a colossal slug of tungsten piercing the hull of an Imperial cruiser. The enemy ship erupted in a blinding explosion, sending debris scattering. Meanwhile, a strike team led by Captain Drake landed on Zaratha Prime. Their mission, to infiltrate the Imperial Command Center and eliminate Chancellor Itheris Selkar. The planet's surface was a labyrinth of fortified structures and heavily armed guards. Drake's team moved through the shadows, dispatching enemies with ruthless efficiency. "This is it," Drake said as they approached the command center. "We take down Icarus, and this war ends here." The team breached the facility, engaging in a brutal firefight with the Empire's elite guards. Drake fought with unmatched ferocity, her pulse rifle a blur of motion. One by one, her team cleared the way to the central chamber. Inside the command center, Icarus awaited them. The Chancellor stood tall and unyielding, his 6 iridescent eyes blazing with defiance. At his side was General Corvec, who bared his jagged teeth in a menacing grin. "So, the humans bring the fight to our doorstep," Icarus said, his melodic voice dripping with contempt. "You've come far, but this is where your rebellion dies." Drake leveled her rifle at him. "Not today." The room erupted into chaos as Icarus and Corvec unleashed their powers. The Chancellor wielded a staff that projected waves of energy, sending soldiers flying, while Corvec charged into the fray with brutal strength. Drake dodged a blast from Icarus's staff and fired back, her shots deflected by an energy shield. "We need to take that staff out," she shouted to her team. Her second-in-command, a burly alien named Korath, lunged at Icarus, tackling him to the ground. The Chancellor's staff clattered away, and Drake seized the opportunity. She fired a shot that struck Icarus in the chest, sending him sprawling. On the Iron Resolve, Rylan received a transmission from Drake. "Commander, Icarus is down." "Repeat, Icarus is down." Rylan clenched his fist in triumph. "Good work, Captain. Now let's finish this." The loss of their leader threw the Imperial fleet into disarray. The Allied forces capitalized on the chaos, pressing their advantage. The Empire's ships began to retreat, their once formidable cohesion shattered. As the last of the Imperial fleet fled, the Allied forces cheered. The battle was won, but at great cost. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of ships and the bodies of countless soldiers. On board the Iron Resolve, Rylan addressed his crew. "We've done the impossible. We've shown the galaxy that the Empire is not invincible. But this victory is only the beginning. We fight not just for humanity, but for freedom, for every species oppressed by the Empire." His words resonated across the fleet, igniting a sense of unity and purpose. The war had taken a heavy toll, but the Allied forces had proven their strength and resilience. In the aftermath of the battle, Zaratha Prime was liberated. The once feared stronghold of the Empire was now a symbol of hope for the galaxy. Humanity had faced the full might of the Empire and emerged victorious. As Rylan stood on the observation deck of the Iron Resolve, watching the ruins of Zaratha Prime below, he felt a rare moment of peace. The war was far from over, but humanity had taken its first steps toward a brighter future. "We've come a long way," Drake said, joining him. Rylan nodded. "And we're just getting started." With the Empire in retreat and the galaxy rallying behind them, humanity's fight for freedom had only begun. But for the first time, they believed they could win.